the lease and the deal was, hey, you got to manage it in kind of in our best interest, and you have not. The elites in Panama sold out directly to the Chinese Communist Party. This is what they do. The Chinese Communist Party comes in, and it's basically predatory capitalism and elite capture. They capture elites, and they capture elites in Great Britain and in Europe and in the islands. So this is why we have such a problem down in the southern part of the third island chain. This is what Cleo Pascal has been talking about. The things that your grandfathers fought for to basically fight across the Pacific is all being given up now as the Chinese Communist Party is there. So the Chinese Communist Party at midnight got a big old problem. And President Trump's not trying to back down. And we had Forrest Cho on this morning from the New Federal State of China, and we are going to do we're going to do something very big for June for Tiananmen Square to have a conference in Washington D.C. We'll get more about that later. That everybody can attend because we want all the Warren posse to show up, and we're going to do somewhere in central Washington, so it's easy access to everybody. But we want to lay out the fact of, like Forrest said today, the Chinese Communist Party is going to fight back, and they're going to fight back hard because they understand the control, the illegitimate control of the Chinese people of Lao Beijing in the Chinese nation, of which they have a huge legitimacy problem. Why do they have a legitimacy problem? Well, after fighting as a revolutionary cause, they really didn't technically win. They kind of got over top of the Kuomintang, and Kuomintang, one of the armies collapsed, and they were going to retreat. But it was essentially handed to them. Control of the nation was handed to them by General Marshall and the State Department with the sign-off of the White House. This is what the whole McCarthy and all those guys came to power. All that was about who lost China. How did this happen? The Chinese had been a huge ally of us in World War II, and America had a history and a relationship with China since the Clipper ship days. And then the religious, the massive missionary effort put forward, principally coming out of England and coming out of the United States with the missionaries. So the Americans always had this very close relationship with the Chinese, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the Chinese Communist Party is kind of running the deal. Just like the Bolsheviks, a kind of a super minority party. Never really put forward any kind of elections, never really had legitimacy. They're worrying about Wan Xishan, and their senior guys now think they're worried every day about this legitimacy issue. And who gives them legitimacy? The sociopathic overlords on Wall Street, the same guys that ship the jobs over. Why do you think we have Brian Costello on here on Sequoia Capital all the time? The fix is in the capital market, the capital providers, venture capital, private equity, the Wall Street public markets, all went to China to give China access, the Chinese Communist Party access to American capital, particularly equity and debt capital markets. What the equity capital markets here is not retail driven, it's institution driven. What I mean by institution, I mean that's a fancy name for your pension fund. So this is the tragic part of it. You financed it. Your tax money financed part of it, and your pension funds financed the others. Because people who were fiduciaries, i.e. the people that ran the U.S. government and people that ran the hedge funds, were supposed to do it in your favor. They didn't. You got screwed, and you paid for it. I want the salt to go into that wound. I want it to go into the wound deep. This is what happened. This is with all the talk and tariffs and do you see any Democrats, you see anybody standing up and saying that truth? Do you see the Kochs at Leonard Lee or anybody saying, but this is what Trump's trying to do? What the hell you think I'm all for the Trump 28? A guy like this comes along, and it may be once in a country's history. In this nation, we've been lucky to have two before him, General Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I say that as a student of American history. Oh, Bannon, you've read a couple books. No, I have studied American history. You got two guys. You've had some great leaders in the country. Don't get me wrong. General Jackson's my guy. Right? You've had some great leaders in this country, but you have two that are world historical figures, and that would be General Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump's the third. I don't care if they like it or not. If Morning Joe's head's going to blow up and they say, "Oh, you can't say that. The guy's a criminal. He's a crook. He's been indicted. He's been all." Hey, you guys did all that to him, and he consciously knew you were going to do it to him, and he came back anyway.